Hi, everyone. This is Heather Hodges. I'm an organizational psychologist. Welcome to my show. This is the place where we say I'm in to creativity, bold thinking, transformational growth, and meaningful conversations. Today, we're exploring a creative facilitation method that's transforming how teams think, communicate, connect, tell stories, and solve problems. It's called Lego Serious Play. And if you've ever been in a meeting where only a few voices are heard or where ideas just stay on the surface, this method flips that script. Lego Serious Play is a powerful hands-on approach that uses Lego bricks as a tool for thinking, storytelling, and collaboration. And it helps people visualize abstract ideas, unlock fresh insights, and engage in deep dialogue that traditional meetings just rarely even touch. And there's no better person to guide us through this conversation than Dr. Denise Meyerson. She is a master trainer, a global expert, and one of the pioneers who has trained facilitators, including me, all over the world in how to use this method to spark innovation and build strategy and team connection. So today we'll talk about how Lego Serious Play works, why it's so effective, and how you can bring this methodology into your own practice or to your organization. Dr. Denise, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's just fabulous to be here. I'm really excited.
Well, I could not be more thrilled to have you on the podcast. And for our listeners, they can hear that you have a different accent than what they might be used to. I would love for you to just introduce yourself and tell us where you're from.
Okay, so originally I'm South African and then found my way to the shores of Australia about 23 years ago. But I've been involved in learning, education for the past 35 years, and no one is allowed to guess my age based on those snippets of information.
Oh, never. Wow. Well, I'm delighted to have you on the show today. And the first question I ask all of my guests is, what does it mean to you to say, I'm in, to stepping into your full potential?
Great question there, Heather. And I'm really one who believes that you can't be a spectator. You've either got to be in or just get out, go find something else to do. So step in with all your energy, with all your passion, or, the train's left the station and go find something else that's of interest to you. Because that's what's really guided me in my career. If I want to do something, you've really got to give it your all.
I love that. It's like, are you in or are you not? Like, go for it, go all in. And if you're not willing to go all in, maybe that's a sign that it's not the right path for you.
I agree 100% on that.
Wow. Well, for a little bit of backstory, I learned who you are, and I found you after I started searching for what is Lego Serious Play. And I just started Googling it because I had seen on a colleague's resume, certified Lego Serious Play facilitator. And I thought, what is that? And then my first thought was, okay, girl, you're a PhD. Come on. I thought you were more serious than that. But then I saw it on another person's CV, on their resume. I'm like, okay, what is this? And so I started looking into it, and I went down a rabbit hole and just started researching and reading everything I could. And then I found you. And I found Serious Play Business, and I could not get signed up fast enough to get certified. And I felt like I was, drinking from a fire hydrant, but loving every moment of it. And you came into my life, and I got certified through Lego Serious Play at a really pivotal point in my career. And I'm so grateful to you. But can you give us some more backstory on you? And you're a global leader in bringing Lego Serious Play to organizations and facilitators worldwide. How did you discover this methodology, and what drew you to it as this powerful tool for learning and development and change?
It's also, I mean, these questions are just amazing. So thank you for that, Heather. I think that the first thing for me is that I wasn't really aware of these types of different methodologies. I'd always been a fan of things that are based on manipulatives, where people can use both their hands, where they can get engaged in a different way. But somebody came up to me and said to me, "Hey, have you heard about this methodology called Lego Serious Play? We've just used it in our organization." And strangely, they were an organization, a bank based both in Australia and in South Africa. So I thought, oh, well, let me go have a look at it. But as it turned out, it's just one of those serendipitous moments. I don't know if that's a word in American, just one of those kinds of coincidences where you just have a random conversation that changes the course of what you do in your career. And when you asked at the beginning, what does being in mean? Being in also means you open to those possibilities. Your ears are wide open. You're not the one talking all the time. You're also listening to what other people are suggesting for you. And at that time, Lego Serious Play was licensed per country. And by sheer fortune, good fortune, there was no licensee in Australia. So that's how I got the license. There was no other kind of any sort of magical formula to it, just pure coincidence and luck. And so I traveled around to be trained in the US. There was no other way of being trained. You had to go in person and sit there for 4 days, completely overwhelmed, not quite getting it, and then came back very determined to make this work in Australia. And we got it going. We started doing workshops, encouraging more companies to take a risk, because as soon as they see bricks, and I know you'll eventually ask me, well, what are the downsides and why people so sometimes skeptical about it, because companies don't want to be known for having Lego toys out on a table and then people aren't working and they're not really seriously considering their challenges, but without realizing that through play, they are in fact gaining far deeper insights. So subsequent to that, Lego decided that at that time there were only 2 men who were global trainers of other trainers. And they invited me and a colleague in Canada to become master trainers, because they wanted to have a group that was men and women. So again, I was just lucky to be at the right time, right place, right time. And they flew me, Heather. I went to Enfield in Connecticut. I went to Billund in Denmark. They really invested a lot in me in terms of elevating my skills so I could train facilitators. And you won't believe this twist in the tale, because at the end of my final training, as they were handing me my certificate and sign off as a master trainer of Lego Serious Play, and I'm so pumped up and I'm so proud of myself and I think I'm the greatest thing on earth, they make an announcement and they say they've decided that the Lego Serious Play methodology is going to now be open source. There will be no more licensees in the world. We are gifting, and they put millions of dollars into developing the methodology, the research behind it. You can imagine the tests and trials. This has been going on since the late 1990s. And they said, hey, it's open source now. We're gifting this to the world. Go and do whatever you like. Just never use our Lego logo, please. Just respect our trademarks and copyrights. So from there, I thought, well, okay, no more Lego supporting us. No huge community. They used to hold community conferences, Heather, in Billund in Denmark. Take us into the Lego factory. I mean, you can't believe what we used to do there.
Oh, wow.
It was really wow.
It's like
and then we were on our own. So initially, pre-COVID, we just did the training in person. And then in COVID, I thought, we can spread this a lot further. People are getting more used to doing things on Zoom or teams, and we can really make this more democratic and get the skill into more people's hands. And that's why we introduced it online. We kept our pricing way below, way below what most of the other providers were offering, because we wanted people to use it, not for it to be this kind of elitist thing that nobody else knows the secret to. We wanted to get it out there.
Wow, that's extraordinary. I don't think in all of my research on you and Serious Play Business, I don't think I knew that. That's fantastic. Wow.
Maybe it's a good tip to put that more on the website.
Yeah.
Thank
well,
you.
Your story is so remarkable, and your background with the Lego Group and with those initial two gentlemen whose I know their names, but I cannot say their names. It's I think
That's fine.
They're Danish names or German names.
Danish.
So that's great. Well, help us understand. What is it? Well, if you were to explain the method, what makes it just something different than just playing with Lego bricks? How does it work?
Okay, and again, these are types of questions that people often ask, and that's, well, what is it as a methodology? So maybe let me start off by saying what it's not. And what it's not is just playing with bricks on a table and having a nice time and some fun. And that's a perfect use of Lego bricks and nothing wrong with that, but it's not Lego serious play. What it's also not is some trainers, some facilitators use Lego bricks for communications purposes or demonstrating how well a team works together. So they put bricks on the table and you get instructions and you need to build an aeroplane or a castle, and then maybe one brick is missing and you've got to go and speak to the other team. So it's a kind of Lego game, a game using Lego. So that is a use and a very valid use of Lego bricks, but it's not Lego serious play. It's also not a demonstration of steps in a process. So if you say this is step 1, step 2, and you have little bricks going there, it's not that either. But what it is a way of demonstrating that, people have ideas, they have thoughts, they have belief systems, they have a way of perceiving the world. But sometimes, because it's abstract and metaphorical, it's hard to express that. It's difficult to sort of say to someone, a key value that I have is trust. And then why? What makes trust so important to you? It's a kind of nebulous concept that's not concrete. And that's where Lego Serious Play comes in, because through the process, you begin to build models that represent, that reflect your interpretation, your personal, individual interpretation of what trust means to you.
Wow.
And that's where the strength of the method starts coming in.
Wow. So that's so helpful to understand what it's not, that it is not all of those things. It is something entirely different that works with, what I hear you saying is the metaphor of the bricks. So what's happening in the brain, and maybe talk us through what happens in like group dynamics when people start building and, sharing those stories through metaphor with the Lego bricks.
Yeah. And one of the big things for me about this method is that it is completely democratic in that everyone builds their own model. Everyone tells the story of their own model. There is no exclusion. 100% of the people talk 100% of the time. And that's unusual in this day and age, where sometimes you have the loudmouth who will talk, so the 1% talks 99% of the time. Even in these virtual Zoom calls, how many times do people just turn their cameras off or don't even contribute, don't even say anything? And who knows, they could be sitting on the best contribution or the best idea, and they haven't verbalized or expressed it. So the big motto of Lego Serious Play is that there is no lonely guy. There's nobody who is excluded. Everyone builds their own model. Everyone tells the story of what they've built. And just that part of the process is really powerful. If you think about, once I was facilitating, and I don't know, they said, all right, they'll mix the tables. There were about 50 people in the room and they'll mix it up. I walk into the room, Heather, and I realize they've placed the chief financial officer next to the guy from the mail room who has some sort of disability.
Oh,
And I'm a
wow.
lazy facilitator. And I'm like, now is this going to work out? And yet it worked. I
Wow.
had to trust the process that everyone will build something. The mailroom guy had a very good insight, and he built his little model. He expressed himself, and the CFO had to listen to his viewpoint as well. And that's one of the big advantages of using a methodology like this. And I think it's also, I mean, Heather, it's not scary. So people, I know you're fabulous at the painting, but sometimes people say, oh, I'm not creative. Oh, I don't know if I can do this. Or you try Play-Doh, or you try anything that's really tactile, and you might get a bit of a sort of nose turned up kind of reaction. But when they see those bricks, they can't help but smile. People just naturally feel a bit of joy.
They do. I have noticed that as well, now that I've been using the methodology for, I think, 2 years now is how long I've been working with it. And you're right, it's 100% participation. And you taught me this phrase that it's a lean in meeting versus a lean back meeting, where people have their arms crossed and they may or may not speak up. You can't help yourself you're right, when there are Lego bricks on the table, you naturally lean in and start fiddling and picking them up and putting them together, whether you're familiar with them or not. Like I didn't get the opportunity to play with a lot of Lego bricks as a kid. Maybe that's why I love them now. Maybe tapping into my inner child. But they're intuitive and they're fun and they're brightly colored. And you're right, they're not intimidating. They feel accessible to the people.
Correct. And that already sets up a good feeling, a good sort of vibe, atmosphere in the room, is that generally speaking, most people want to become part of it. And even if they are a little bit reluctant at the beginning, when they see everybody else building and everybody else, getting involved, they can't help themselves. They do as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious about the applications for the methodology in the real world. Where have you seen Lego Serious Play used, most powerfully? Could you share a few examples of how teams or organizations are using it?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of different examples, and that's in fact one of the beauties of the methodology, is that it follows a process, but it is very adaptable to different contexts. And that is one of the big strengths of this. So you don't have to do it for a leadership program. And we've seen it, for example, in leadership development, where you'd be asking big questions like, what's your view of a leader? What are the strengths that you bring to your leadership role? What are the types of areas that you need to be aware of, that you need to heed as you look around as a leader? So it fits in very well in that type of situation. We've got a lot of academics as well that use the methodology. They'd be using it for the startup of a program or of a group working together on a particular project. So they use it in business schools as well. We even have the Virginia Commonwealth University uses it even to assess students coming into their Masters of
Really?
Innovation program. So they send them the bricks and they conduct the interview through the bricks, because if the students aren't open to using something a little bit different, a bit out of their comfort zone, would they be appropriate for a master's degree in innovation?
Oh my
So
goodness.
it's used in that sense. We've used it a lot in change programs, places going through a lot of change. There could be change fatigue. People need to be maybe re-energized. There could be new teams forming, and then they need to know each other. They need to set what their goals are going to be, how they're going to work together, what sort of guiding principles will they follow. We've used it for women in leadership or inclusivity programs. Many, many years ago, we did one of those at Microsoft where they were exploring, well, what's a barrier for women entering the field of technology and how might we enable them to come more strongly into that particular sector. So
Wow.
I don't know if that's given you
No,
enough
that's
examples.
more than I even expected. That's phenomenal.
Yeah,
And, I've only been doing this 2 years to your over 20 years, probably more than that.
yeah,
And I facilitated, dozens and dozens of workshops, and you've facilitated hundreds of workshops. So far, it's worked. I've never had a
yeah,
workshop that went
yeah.
south. It has always been well received. It has,
Yeah.
the outcomes are remarkable. The feedback afterwards are things like, I had no idea I got more out of this than I expected. I heard
Yes.
my colleagues told stories that I've worked with them for 10 years and I learned something about them that I did not know. And our
Right.
teamwork is off the charts now. Things like that. Is that the experience that you have had as well? Like what's
Definitely. Yeah, and I totally endorse that. You know what? Sometimes, and this Heather once happened to us. I mean, everything seems to, when you've been doing it for a long time, a few things are going to happen. And they invited us to a sales conference. So we were kind of the first thing up on the second day of their sales conference, just getting people to envision what does sales success look like to you? What would be a big goal you'd like to kick for the coming year? So everything was well planned around that type of theme. We walk into the room and we realize this is going to be a difficult session. I had 6 or 7 helpers with me. It's a large room. And all we could literally smell, Heather, were vapors of alcohol.
oh
We
no.
couldn't go near some of the tables. I don't know what they drank. It must have been free alcohol
Yeah,
the
the
night
open bar.
before. It was an open bar. And they took advantage of the open bar. And that was really one of the worst sessions that I think I've ever done. It's out of your control. I think where possibly the person who was arranging this thought, oh, this is just going to be fun, without realizing, well, it becomes serious. It
It
doesn't
does.
just stay on that kind of fun level. People start sharing stories and sharing meaningful things. I mean, we even had a guy start crying. He obviously, sometimes the alcohol also makes people a little bit to the depressed side. Well, I don't know what the whole thing is, the physiology behind that. But and how's this that I remember the story like 16, 17 years later? I still remember the story of how some wall had fallen on a child
Oh
and the
my.
child had tragically died. I mean, and then the HR person said to me, bring the microphone here. Here's a story for the, oh my God. Heather, that was not a good day at
So
all.
th-
So
so
it
that's how it can go
happens.
south, is if it's mixed
That
with
is how it
alcohol.
can go south. But on the other hand, generally 99.9% it goes up. We've just had a case study, in fact, from a major healthcare organization in Canada. And interestingly, Heather, they won't allow their name to be used because, again, it's that maybe association of bricks as a toy and a plaything. And do we, as the serious healthcare organization, want to be associated with this? But they had low engagement scores. They had tried everything, town halls, emails. It wasn't that they were ignoring the engagement signals. And once they brought people into Lego Serious Play sessions, they ran, I think, 50 or 60 sessions and listening to people and involving people. The feedback was through the roof. I mean, it made an
Wow.
enormous difference to the culture of that
Wow.
organization.
I cannot wait to get my hands on that case study. I definitely want to read it. And can you unpack the skepticism just a little bit more? I had that initial skepticism of, come on, I was judgmental of this person. Like, you're a Lego Serious Play facilitator, and now I am one. But I'm 10 levels deep into this. I love the methodology, but how do you work with somebody or overcome that skepticism when they have that initial reaction at first?
So I think the first thing is that we always encourage people to give a little bit of the background and the
Mm,
theory behind Lego Serious
mm,
Play, because people don't want to think that it's whoever's organized the event has just cooked this up
mhm,
yesterday and put some bricks on the table and hoped for the best. So we do try and make sure that people understand, particularly the theorists and a
mhm,
couple of skeptics. So yes, major organizations have used this. We've got Coca-Cola, SAP, Microsoft. Yes, they've all used the methodology
mhm,
and had a positive impact on them. And that there is some substance to it. There's science behind it. There's research behind it. It's not something that we dreamt of recently.
mhm,
So that does help a little bit. You don't often find skeptics. You always imagine that you will, but you don't often. One example that comes to mind was we ran an event for the Institute of Chartered Accountants. So it was a very serious group of people, I don't like to generalize, but I would say generally very literal thinkers,
mhm,
very concrete mindset.
mhm.
And there was a chap there that decided this is not for him. But so the first model that he built, I should say, was very simple. It was just like 2 or 3 bricks, and he put it down on the table and folded his arms, and that he was a case of definitely not leaning into anything. But then when it came to the story time and it went around the table and people started telling really meaningful stories about their models. In fact, some of them went straight into metaphor from the tower. They were already talking in metaphor about their careers, their goals, their aspirations. So it was all there. And then I think he started changing his mind a little bit, that he started getting the sense, well, in fact, this is quite interesting, and I don't want to be excluded from this. I do want to be a part of it. By the time, Heather, we came to the little mini landscape we did on the table,
Mhm.
which wasn't a very deep one because, in a big venue, you wouldn't go as deep as you could in a smaller type of more constrained environment. He was the one leaning over the table and he was even moving everybody else's models
Oh.
around, which is not the best serious play etiquette.
Mhm.
But you can
Wow.
switch people.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. And it's interesting. I have noticed that, I come from a healthcare background, so I work with a lot of women, but it's interesting that it's the men that oftentimes jump in quickly and want to do the
Yeah,
methodology and play with the
get
bricks,
hands
and
on.
then the women kind of bring them along with the storytelling and
Yeah,
the metaphor.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think the surprise comes often, Heather, because they've never expressed themselves in this way
Mm,
previously. So
mhm,
at the end, you'll often get, and I think you got comments about how I was surprised. I
mhm,
didn't see myself saying all of that, or people saying, I've never heard this from my team.
mhm.
Nobody's ever kind of highlighted this. And this is the first time
Yeah,
I've really got to know people on the team or understand where they're coming from.
yeah. I found myself, because I've recently been in a training with you, and I found myself discovering something that was probably there, but it brought it to the surface for me. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what I
Exactly.
need to do, and so it
Exactly.
unearthed some things. Even though I think I'm adjusted. I work on myself. I develop myself all the time, but that methodology helped me get there even better.
Nice.
Wow.
And
What
that's the magic.
it is. It is. Can you tell us just a little concrete things before I ask you about how you train facilitators and how somebody could become a facilitator through your business. Can you tell us just more concretely, how long does it take? What are the, what do you need? What are the bricks? How do you find a facilitator if you're an organization out there looking for somebody? How long can it be an hour, half a day? Could it be a full day workshop? Can you talk us through that?
Yeah, and those are again such common questions that we frequently hear. I'd say, Heather, that first of all, it can't be less than an hour to give people time to build something and tell their story and ask a few questions about their model. Even an hour is a little, depending on also how many people are in the room. So if you take rule of thumb that you're going to allow 4 to 5 minutes to build each model and then go around however many people in the room there are, 2 or so minutes per person, you see the minutes start adding up and you've had to position it before. So some people do it for a whole morning. If you're doing a team development, they would definitely do a full morning of it. Sometimes it's integrated into other parts of a workshop or a learning program. So it might be something at the beginning or something at the end, so people can use it and weave it through the rest of the day. At some point, people get a bit Legoed out. So a full day of just Lego is a bit heavy going, and we wouldn't necessarily recommend it. It used to be done like that at the start of when they first formulated the process. They used to spend even 2 days doing a
Wow.
strategy session.
Wow.
But no company is going to take 2 days to sit around and talk and play with bricks. It's just not how the world functions any
Right.
longer.
Yeah.
So that's that from a time perspective. And then from a bricks perspective, we generally recommend that people buy their bricks from the Lego shop at home store, their online store. So we generally recommend that because the bricks have been chosen for their metaphorical qualities. So they've done quite a bit of research into selecting those particular bricks. But if people have got bricks at home or can integrate and mix things up a bit, obviously you do. My note, part of the answer there is not to use parts of a Maserati car that you've built. And then the bricks are, they're really difficult to put together for normal people who aren't expert in putting the Lamborghini or whatever it is together.
So they're the classic
Yes,
bricks.
yes, yes.
Yeah. And I know when I have any kind of minifigs in my collection, they
Minifigs.
are they are Lego yellow. Like I
Yeah,
don't have the different color. Yeah, like that, like your people. So I make them all
yeah,
uniform, and I
yeah.
think a lot of people really enjoy
The
those
people are,
as well.
are important, but and there's often not enough people. So we say, whatever it is, if you choose any brick and it's a person to you, it's a person to us. They don't have to have a
That's right.
physical minifig, man, woman, whatever to
Yeah.
use. You can use a flower. You can use a transparent brick. And
And
if
it
that's a person to
represents.
you, exactly.
I love that phrase. If it's a person to you, it's a person to me. If it's a tower to you, it's a tower to me,
Towered.
because it's about symbolism and
Correct.
metaphor. Oh my
Correct.
goodness. I could not love this conversation more. I'm learning so much from you every time I talk to you. So you were my trainer, and I know that you train facilitators all over the world in how to use this methodology. What can you talk us through your certification program? What does it include? What kinds of people tend to get the most out of becoming a certified facilitator?
Yeah.
How does
It's
that work?
interesting, Heather, because we have so many different professions and fields that come to us wanting to be facilitators of this particular methodology. From academia, heads of schools, counselors, what are your career goals? We've got a lot of people who work in the agile project management space. So they're using it to kickstart projects, get teams together and on board. We have a lot of leadership facilitators as well, so that's a big sector. Or it's anyone maybe who's in a corporate role and they want to use something different, something exciting that their groups haven't experienced previously. or HR, organizational development people who have seen all these engagement scores tanking, or there's low energy, teams are tired of the change. So all of these different roles, and then layered on top of that, people from all over the world, from Latvia, Poland, countries and towns I haven't even heard of, plus Canada, the USA, UK, in healthcare as well, quite a few people in that type of sector. So as long as you enjoy facilitating, you have some facilitation skills. We don't cover 101 facilitation. Everything for us is online. And that's how we've been able to spread the methodology, that people don't have to travel to a venue, incur the travel costs, incur the accommodation costs, sit there for 3 days, taking that time. We believe that it can be done online, and our experience has proven that people who go through the full course are absolutely able to implement. And I think just the structure of the course is easy to follow. And there are also videos that you can watch of a few sessions in action. And I know that people watch those quite often.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
I can
just
attest
to
to
really
that.
get, yes. And we've had Gavin, who's worked with me for many years, and he's one of those facilitators. So there's that option at a foundational level. And then if people move to the advanced level, they come into a live webinar type session to experience it a bit more and to learn a few more techniques, especially things like the shared model. It's not so easy to teach that just purely self-paced online.
Yeah. And, when I got my basic certification with you, you had us write a lesson plan, and then we recorded a video, and we were assessed whether we, pass or fail on the methodology. Is that still the case?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for reminding me of that, because I think it's important, firstly, that if somebody's paid money to do a course, you want them to implement it. Otherwise, it's just one of those things that's, sits in their background and they don't do anything with it. It was like nice to know. And that's why we want people to have the courage to stand up, even if they put some family and friends and the next door neighbor there, and do it. Because once you've done it the first time, you're going to keep doing it. So that's one of the reasons we do the video. And it's not because we want to watch every session. It's just we want people to do it. We also want people to put together a session plan. Because Heather, still we sometimes need to give quite a bit of feedback on the session plan. It's that people tend, number one, to skip the tower, because they know, as a facilitator, they know the methodology. They completely forget that the participant needs to feel psychologically safe, needs to feel, I've got this, I can do this, this is easy. And if you don't give them that sense, you're throwing them right into the deep end, and that's not going to be good for anyone. So we keep checking that, and checking that the session flows well, because you want people to have that feeling that they're in the zone, they don't notice time passing by, and that's when they bring their best selves into the room.
That's one of my favorite things about it, is how a whole room can get in a state of flow by working with the bricks and in the Lego Serious Play session. Wow.
Good old Chick Saint Me High.
Look at you. What a beautiful pronunciation.
Do you want the cheat? The cheat way is Chick Saint Me High. That's the only way I remember.
Me high. Gorgeous.
And that's how I remember the pronunciation of his name. Do not ask me to spell it.
Oh,
but he's the guy
Mihai.
who really looked at flow and what gets you into a state of flow and takes you out.
And we do that in Lego Serious Play. It gets you there quickly. Like within moments, you can get into that flow state. Wow.
True.
So your certifications are available anytime. You don't have to start, you don't work on the semester, or if somebody is listening to this today and they're like, no, I'm in, I want to go get certified, they can go to your website, and I will link it in this episode note.
Thank you so much.
And it's also linked on my website now.
Thank you.
Leisha and I worked on that today.
Yeah.
But they can go to your website and start that certification right away.
Absolutely.
And you have you have been with this methodology for decades now. You've seen it through COVID. Now here we are in this, whatever new world we're in. If you were to look at the horizon, what excites you most about the future of Lego Serious Play and this facilitation methodology?
I mean, it's always fascinating for me. We hold a global online conference every year where you kindly presented, and people coming from all over with different takes on how they're applying the methodology. It's like never ending. It's like mushrooming up every time somebody hears of something else and then seems to build on that and grow it and develop it. That it's just continues to fascinate me that people are just finding so many use cases for the methodology, keeping the strength and the core of it, but then applying it in so many interesting ways. And so let it continue. Let them keep growing and learning and developing. And exactly.
Wow. Well, Dr. Denise, this has been such a fascinating conversation, and I hope you'll come back and just be a regular guest on the podcast. I enjoy our conversations.
Chatting to you. You're drawing a lot more out of me than I even knew.
Wow!
But I did play with my bricks a little.
Yes, you did. I had mine here too. So we had our hand-brain connection going. But before I let you go, Percy, is my research assistant. He is a penguin, and he has a couple of questions for you. And he's been knocking at the door. Percy, are you there? Come on in. Great. All right. Thank you, Percy. All right, Dr. Denise. Percy's first question is from a previous guest, Steve Mellor. He is a coach, and he's a Brit, but living in Louisiana. And he's a swim coach formerly, but he's a leadership coach now. And he wants to know, if you had only one option for a meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
No hesitation. It's chocolate. So I would eat chocolate forever.
Okay.
I might expand forever too.
Dark chocolate, milk chocolate,
no,
what brand?
Milk. No, please. Too healthy. You're going to go chocolate. Go all in. That's
go all in if you're having chocolate.
Yeah.
So milk chocolate, and what brand?
I don't know. I'm not fussy. I'm not a fussy chocolate one, as long as it's milk. Some of the Swiss chocolates. I don't know if I'm too crazy about the American chocolates, but I best not say that too loud.
That's okay. I love. Well, I grew up in Europe, so Belgium chocolate. Oh,
yes.
Just so good.
Oh yes.
So a good Aero bar. So wonderful.
Agreed.
So you would eat chocolate from now on. That's so great. Well, Percy's second question is, what is a question you would like to ask a future guest?
Whoa. So I know that it's coming up to Thanksgiving in the US, and it's always a very special time of the year. So I'd like to ask the next guest what they're thankful for. What have they been thankful for this year?
Beautiful question. I'm so grateful that you asked that question. Well, wonderful.
It's, and I think sometimes people think about it a little. Maybe let's split it so that the question is both professionally and personally.
I like that. Professionally and personally. Well, I will tell you, professionally, I'm grateful for you. So thank you for
likewise
coming into my world. And
serendipitous things.
It is serendipitous.
And wires start crossing, but that only happens, I think, Heather, when you're in. When you're
That's
fully
right.
in.
Thank you for bringing that full circle.
Yeah, it doesn't happen
Wonderful.
when you're leaning back.
No, it doesn't.
I think these things just pass you straight by. You just don't even notice your good luck moments.
Yeah, you're right. You have to pay attention and be grateful for them when they come along. Wow.
True.
Dr. Denise, thank you so much for joining us
and
sharing your wisdom. I appreciate it so much.
Same here.
And thank you to our listeners for joining us in this conversation. And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. I read every single one. And share it with somebody who could use a dose of creativity, inspiration, and Lego Serious Play. So until next time, keep saying I'm in to creativity and bold thinking, transformational growth, and meaningful conversations. May you be wildly creative in your life and leadership. I'll see you soon.